The first cases of severe lung disease associated with vaping are now being reported here in Bexar County. Metro Health is urging people to stop using e-cigarettes. 6 deaths are connected to vaping, and so are more than 450 possible cases of lung illness. There are more than 24 cases under investigation in Texas. Eyewitness News reporter Vanessa Croy explains what one vape shop owner is blaming tonight.
A strong warning issued today from the San Antonio Metro Health Department against the use of e-cigarettes after reporting 2 cases of severe lung disease associated with vaping here in Bexar County. We talked to a local vape shop owner who says they have over 3,000 people in their customer base at Hayes Vapery, and they've never heard any mention of respiratory issues associated with vaping. He says the people getting sick are using vaping e-cigs with harmful THC or other products not regulated by the FDA.
What they're finding, the deaths that have been linked to were a THC cartridge that were illegally packed. It was a counterfeit item. And here, you can't get THC here in Texas. You know, all these deaths that are occurring, is getting linked to our business, and it's completely separate.
President Trump tweeting tonight, "While I like the vaping alternative to cigarettes, we need to make sure this alternative is safe for all. Let's get counterfeits off the market and keep young children from vaping." And while Metro Health and the CDC haven't made any distinctions about the products or why vaping can cause lung disease, they're urging the public to stop using e-cigs altogether while they work to discover the cause of the mysterious lung illness that has affected hundreds of e-cigarette users. A recent study by Houston's Baylor College of Medicine on lab mice found the solvents used to make a product vapable damage the lungs.
Vaping can cause quite a havoc in the lung. It is completely different than what cigarette smoke does.
Vanessa joins us live. Vanessa, has business dropped off since these illnesses and deaths started?
Well, Deb, if the push continues to cut out e-cigarettes altogether, Jonathan Paris said it would completely destroy small business owners like himself. He did tell me that here in the state of Texas, vaping shops have very strict guidelines to follow, and he never sells any vaping products to anyone underage. Deb?